After many weeks of complete silence, we finally have an update from the Delta Force devs regarding the console version of the game and when we can expect to see that. But unfortunately, it's not great news. In a new developer blog just released, Game Director Shadow addresses some questions regarding the console version of the game, which originally had a planned release window of Q1 2025. That would have been between January, February, or March. Obviously now we're getting well into that period, and Shadow says in the video that the console release may need to be postponed. I'm going to take that as meaning it probably is going to be postponed, although it's not 100% commitment. But keep in mind this is in Chinese and then translated over, so some nuances may get lost in translation slightly. I don't think this will be a huge surprise to many people. We already had the story mode release slightly delayed. We had the mobile release delayed. So it's been a bit of an ongoing theme. They mentioned that some of the reasons for the delay are that they're addressing challenges related to maintaining fairness with input methods. So that's going to be the discussion around controller versus mouse and keyboard, how aim assist is going to work, stuff like that. And they also mentioned that there's a lot of challenges regarding managing the UI, your inventory in game, and presumably out of game as well. There's a lot of stuff like that that's going to be quite challenging on controller that they're still working to optimize. That said, they do say development is going well on console. And while this is disappointing news, I think if you look at the quality of this game when it came out on PC, when it released into its early access, even during the technical test before it was available to the public last December, the optimization of the game itself, the lack of bugs, the quality of how it ran, the performance, I think was of a really, really high level and a lot better than some AAA games that I've played on full release, and that was during the technical test. So they do have high standards of what they're happy to release, and they haven't done anything so far that would make me think they'll release something that's in a poor quality condition. So by the end of March, looking unlikely for console. They don't give a new date on when we might expect it, but hopefully it's not going to be pushed back too much further. The mobile release, I seem to remember, originally got pushed back from January to early summer, I think they said. So hopefully it's something we can see in the first half of this year. There's a few other interesting points addressed in this developer blog. The second point, they talk about when we'll see a Killcam introduced in the game. This is something I think a lot of people would like to see, particularly to help identify cheaters, but also it's just quite interesting sometimes to see where you got killed from and how they played it out. This is a feature they've been testing an early version of in China, but it still has some issues at the moment where certain operator abilities or specialist equipment isn't being shown accurately in those replays, so it's not ready for release yet, but they are planning to release that next season for global. That's about just under 2 months away now. I think that's totally reasonable. There's a big problem with kill cams in other games I've played in the past where they're not really showing an accurate representation of what happened. And if they aren't 100% accurate, then they're kind of pointless in terms of cheating. I've played games like PUBG where the kill cam is a bit janky and it kind of shows you being shot through a wall, but you weren't. And then everyone thinks everyone's cheating because the kill cam always makes it look impossible, but it's just that the kill cam is rubbish. So you can't release a kill cam if it's not working properly. Hopefully they can get it working well. We'll see it next season. Personally, I'd like to see a full replay system so we can load up a replay file, look at the whole game, the whole map, see what all the teams are doing, where they went, how they played it. I think that'd be really interesting, not just for identifying cheaters, but more just for looking at the game tactically and learning about it. Next up, they talk about the gear cap for easy mode, one of the most talked about points outside of the console release. This feature is complete. They're making final optimizations, and they do say they're going to add it in the next season. It's worth mentioning they did say they were going to add it for this season, and they didn't, but hopefully we will actually see it come in with the upcoming season around mid-March. The last we heard on this gear cap for easy was that it was going to be something along the lines of blue ammo maximum and purple armor maximum. But that may well be tweaked. There might be other changes to that, but that's currently how we envisage it. Personally, I think they should also be nerfing the loot on easy so you can't get as much stuff in there to encourage people to go and play normals more often. And I think they could also do with adding a couple of AI operator teams to every easy mode, again to help make easy easier for new players and casual players to learn the game and get familiar with it, and to encourage more experienced players to play normal. That'll help the population of the normal queues. Maybe we can have more available. Maybe we can have them available more often so you don't have to wait for a certain hour to play Rakesh or Space City, and maybe even then that would allow us to have hard mode queues available at some points, or maybe even solo queues, which I know a lot of people would like to see. The next point discussed is night mode. This is something we knew was coming already. They say they're working on this still. They're expecting to see it in the next season. This is going to be night mode added to certain maps in operations. And then there's also going to be specialist equipment that will help you play that, so night vision scopes and that kind of thing. They also talk about issues with game performance. This isn't something I've had any trouble with, but some people have raised issues with lag and other issues they've been having with their graphics and general performance stuff. They say they're working with the manufacturers. There's some issues regarding specific CPU or GPU drivers, and on top of trying to fix that stuff, they're also working to improve the game's overall loading speed so that you'll be able to get into games more quickly, and also to optimize the game's overall file size so when we get an update, they're not hopefully going to be massive files. Lastly, they talk about wipes or the lack thereof. They confirm once again, as they've said many times, there's going to be no wipes for game progress. They've said before, no forced wipes. There has been discussion before about kind of optional wipes you can do in some manner. They don't specifically mention that here. They just say no wipes for game progress. It's a big mantra for them. I'm not really sure why. They do acknowledge that some players want more of a challenge and they'll be adding new content and features to cater for that, but it's quite vague. They don't really give any more information on that. Personally, I think the lack of wipes is going to be detrimental to the game. I think for anyone who plays the game a fair amount now, anyone who rolls with a squad, it's so easy to make money once you get a bit of experience in the game that you very quickly get to a point where you've got tens of millions of credits and it doesn't really matter what you take in. It doesn't really matter if you don't extract very often. It's so easy to get back money that you kind of lose a bit of the gear fear. It takes a bit of the tension out of worrying about extracting. And there's a lot of people who just run around now just charging at PvP and not really caring what they extract with because it just doesn't matter to them because they've got so much money. So I would like to see some changes made there to make the game more interesting. I think if you lose that incentive to really care about how much money you've got, how to earn money and keep gear, then the game gets less exciting and you're not going to want to play. So that's everything for today. That's all the stuff talked about in the latest dev video. Let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments below, and take a look at some of my other Delta Force videos if you want to get some tips and tricks on how to play Delta Force operations. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Ben. We are the Beard Guys, and I'll see you next time.